So now for the final part of the show, where I'm joined again by Charlene Hunter, Shilpa Shah, and Sarah McNabb. Thank you all for your insights so far. It's been a really good journey of learning for me today, and I'm sure for our audience. Now I've got a few more pressing questions that I'd like to ask to the panel. So if we start off, Charlene answering first, and then go through to Sarah and Shilpa for the first question. So one of the things that I've been looking into for women in tech is that we're seeing a huge shortage of women studying computer science and women aspiring to be engineers. So what can we do, and what part of the pipeline should we really be looking at and aiming at to kind of get more women involved in technology? Charlene, if I could start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that one thing that's really important to do is highlight the roles that are out there that people can do. I think a lot of people with technology assume that it's just coding, and there are so many other roles that you can get involved in. So it's highlighting some of that, but also highlighting and spotlighting some of the women that are already in technology as well. So let people see who they can be inspired by, who they could aspire to be as well. And that's really important to do. In terms of the area of the pipeline, or the part of the pipeline we should look at, I think we have to look at people at university level and earlier than that too, to make sure that they've got the support they need to choose the right subjects and then, you know, progress into technical roles as well.
So if I pass the buck over to Sarah.
Yeah, Hayley, agree with everything Charlene said. Yeah, to echo that, I think having STEM subjects kind of promoted to girls in school at a young age is really crucial. And before this, I was having a read, and in Ireland we have the Leaving Cert, which is similar to A levels here, and less than 5% of girls study subjects like engineering and design graphics, and boys are 3 times more likely to study subjects like applied maths and physics. So I think from a really young age, we just really need to start kind of exposing girls to more you know, opportunities and subjects that might spark their interest. And I think linked to that as well is the pool of women that we're looking at, as well as I think we really start looking at neurodiverse women as well, and men, to be fair. So again, you know, countless studies have been done about women in tech and neurodiverse women in tech, and the kind of unique insights and problem solving that they bring to organizations. And I think we really need to start including more neurodiverse women when we're looking at stuff like that. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. I completely agree with you. I think it's also from looking at my background, I really wanted to study IT when I was in school, and I went to an all-girls convent Catholic school, and they only had about 20 people in my class. And when it was secondary school and you got to choose what you wanted to do, I really, really wanted to do IT. So I signed myself up straight away for IT. And unfortunately, there was only one other girl who signed up with me. And that meant that the school didn't actually decide to take on that curriculum. So the choices I then had was art or textiles. So again, I think that's a real key insight of a young girl going to school and really wanting to like push and I've obviously got in my background, my family background, my dad's in IT, my granddad's in IT. So they've been doing a lot of the work and mentoring me up to be in IT for when I was older. And when it came to my first kind of hurdle of wanting to become a woman in tech, I think that's one of the things that I've really found predominantly with myself that really held me back from actually pursuing a career. And I think Charlie's right, we don't have enough people who we can look up to and aspire to be, because it's not kind of known to be the cool thing, especially as women, when you're looking at young girls and you're going down, you know, to the shops and you're going down the aisles, you're basically seeing princess ballerina dresses. Whereas if you go and look at the boys section, they've got all their mechanics, their engineering type tools, kind of learn from a young age that maybe this is something potentially I want to pursue. So if I could then pass this question again over to Shilpa, what's your kind of feedback on it?
Yeah, totally agree. And it's interesting actually that only about 1/3 of girls actually have access to female role models who are working in tech. So we've definitely got a lot to do. But I think a lot of the points are super interesting. And I think we've got an opportunity to work genuinely collaboratively across education, across industry, across government. And of course, with parents and carers, you know, my dad was also very influential in me going and choosing a career in tech. So we've got a lot of opportunity to work with parents and carers and the young people themselves to really change the narrative about what it means to work in tech. And I definitely agree, we need to target the pipeline all the way through from very early education, all the way through to returners and people who want to retrain and work in tech as well. And for me, everything's always about problem solving. So I'm a problem solver, and I think we need to encourage children to be creative and develop sort of ideas for solving problems that they care about and using technology to solve those problems, and making those role descriptions really focus on the purpose and the contribution that these technology roles actually make, and encouraging returners and retrainers into tech. And then that's when we can really diversify the pipeline and get better technology diversity. And actually, I think we're missing a little bit of a trick, and we've started doing this over the years, but we can use technology to better promote working in technology. And through, you know, as Charlene and Sarah were saying, sharing those stories of role models working in tech through tech platforms of all different women and all different diverse backgrounds working in tech today, I think that collectively we can get that change.
Well, yeah, well noted point there. Thank you, Shilpa. So coming back round to maybe a more positive kind of question, how much do you think the tech industry has changed maybe since you have joined? And if I could start with Shilpa on this one, that'd be great.
Well, I'm really old, so it has changed quite a lot. So I did kind of start in the tech industry in the late 90s. And I think it's changed, and I think some of it stayed the same. So when I joined, I was the only female on my computer systems engineering master's degree course. And I was the only female to join what was then the technology practice. But I'm glad to say that today, certainly in our organization, we've managed to achieve parity, at least in terms of graduate recruitment, and also in terms of getting 18-year-olds who want to join our organization. I think something that's really changed is, you know, the pace of which technology has changed and new solutions to problems, as well as new problems that we can find solutions to. And that's really accelerated. And of course, even more so through the pandemic. You know, the new jobs are being created all the time. And, you know, as we said, it's about, you know, making sure the narrative around what those jobs are and how they can make a difference and what you can contribute is really important. So 2/3 of kids in school today are going to be working in jobs that haven't even been created yet. So there's more change coming. And I think what's really positive is now that there are so many more organizations, so many amazing women in tech networks and communities that you can now tap into to feel that real sense of unity and community. So I think we've still got a way to go in terms of women in leadership positions, but on the whole, I think the changes that have been made have been positive, and I look forward to it continuing.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's perfect. Can I now pass over to Charlene? What's your kind of thoughts and takes on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that for me, there has been quite a lot of change as well. So I've been in the industry for around 10 years. And in that time, you know, when I first started out, I wasn't the only woman. There was another woman on the team. And, you know, I used to go to quite a lot of tech events, and I would always be probably one of the only women there, if you know what I mean. But I think that those are some things that I've seen change, is that people have more that they can access now. And when they're going, there's more diversity at the events that they're attending. So, you know, there's the change to some of the teams, there's the change to you know, finding out about different types of roles and the technology. But I think that one thing that is really interesting now is how interested people are in technology. So when I was starting out, none of my friends cared. Nobody that I knew was very interested in it at all. And now it's all over social media. So people are genuinely interested in being part of an industry that's actually really exciting and changing a lot. And they can see quite a lot that's happening there too. So for me, I think it's the real interest people are having in tech, knowing that they can actually play a part in it. And there are so many events and so many opportunities to get involved and to really be interested in it as well. So I think it's the excitement around technology is a real change that I've seen over the last 10 years.
Brilliant. And if I pass over now to Sarah.
Yeah, so I guess echoing what Shilpa and Charlene have said, I mean, I have only been in the industry for about 6-7 years, but even compared to, I was thinking to one of my first events when I was actually in the Amsterdam office, and I didn't dress very well. I wore a white shirt and black trousers, but I was at an event speaking on a panel, and one of the men came up to me and asked where the coffee was. So they thought I was one of the waitresses there. Obviously my choice of clothes wasn't great, but I was actually speaking on the panel, and I remember thinking, oh, you know, because I'm a young girl, they just assume I'm there working a summer job. But I think that's really changed, and we're seeing more on panels, as Charlene mentioned, women's in kind of senior positions of leadership. And yeah, in terms of how it's changed, I think you know, remote working and flexible working is going to be great for women in tech. And now the fact that women can potentially, you know, work from home and still look after a family while also working, I think is amazing, and that's going to do a lot for us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your insights. And I completely agree. I think we have seen a huge change from working from home. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why we kind of see a drop off in regards to women not taking on a technology role, because it is quite full on. So I've looked at a few surveys across the year of starting to be a woman in tech and advocating for Ditto. And in a recent PwC survey, it says, which is time to close the gap, and I've circulated it across to the panel today. It's been stated that only 5% of leadership positions in the technology space are held by women. And Shilpa, I'd like to pose this question to you as one of a leader of women in tech. What are the strategies that women can do and achieve to get a more prominent role within the tech industry?
You know, I think it's actually a lot of things that both organizations can do and that women can do together to help increase women in leadership roles. So I think it's really critical for managing the whole talent pipeline and succession plan, are really key for developing and creating future leaders. So implementing things like sponsorship schemes where existing leaders sponsor, coach, and truly advocate for high-performing future female leaders in technology is one thing I know a lot of organizations are starting to do to help that kind of future potential really be achieved. And I think, as Sarah was saying, you know, the pandemic has definitely shown us that there are more opportunities to be leveraged in truly inclusive remote working, agile working, and other sort of inclusion policies that will mean that more people can benefit and progress their careers in the ways that they want them to. And that's something that organizations are starting to look at now as well. And I think for the women themselves, you know, it is tricky, but we should all be more deliberate about career planning and take that responsibility for ourselves as well, and think really about what jobs and roles we really want to do that both make us happy and that we really want to progress in, and trying to take those steps and asking for those new opportunities. And, you know, I always try and do something that scares me a little bit every day. So do something outside of my comfort zone, always have a kind of continuous learning mindset, and building your network and relationships to really get you to where you want to be and, you know, where you know you could be.
I think you've covered a lot there, Shilpa. I think that's really, really useful. I think it is also completely about having confidence to stand up and say, this is something that I'm really passionate about and something that I will really do, start being a leader in that sense. Sarah, if I could pass over to you and ask what your thoughts are on trying to become more of a leader in the technology space.
Yeah, so again, echoing what Shilpa said, I think she touched on a lot of really relevant points, as well as the women themselves having strategies. I think organizations need to have strategies, and you know, rather than just a one-off kind of campaign, I think you really need to have a company culture that sort of really focuses on diversity and inclusion, because they require continuous work, and that's developed, maintained, and cultivated over time. So I think there really needs to be that company culture where the woman themselves feels welcome and has the chance to grow. And then, yeah, I guess just what echoing Shilpa said, you know your worth. Don't be afraid to ask for more money, whether it's a salary or whether it's VC funding. You know, I mentioned earlier in my chat with you, Hayley, that less than 3% of VC angel investors are women, and women tend to get only 10% of angel investments. So we really need to have more confidence in ourselves. And yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more around the company as well, giving women those avenues to grow within their organization.
Absolutely. And Charlene?
Yeah, I think that there's I mean, I completely agree with everything both of you said, but there's a lot, I think, around recognition of skills, and that's recognition of your own skills. So knowing, I do have leadership skills, I've been in this role for a certain amount of time and I can progress to the next level, but also for organizations to recognize those skills as well. So, if you're doing everything you can, but you don't have somebody who's advocating for you in a company, then it might not work out that you progress to a leadership role, if you know what I mean, a leadership position. So I think it's really important to be able to recognize skills in yourself, but leaders in organizations to be able to recognize that in other people. We've already talked about people who have different neurodiversities, and it could be that there are different behaviors that people exhibit that still make really good leaders, that might just not fit into the current culture in an organization. So it's knowing that and how to recognize it. And I think that something that we can all do, is make sure that if we've got training opportunities or opportunities to develop our skills, find them, share them with people, and make sure that people have access to that so they can really start progressing and say, yeah, okay, I have this skill already. And it might just be that it gives you some extra confidence or something, but making sure that people have access to training so they can develop and progress. Yeah, I think that's key, that I would probably add to everything that's already been said.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary. Definitely getting the training in and trying to work out what skill set you have. Absolutely. So Charlene, actually speaking about this, I mean, we spoke earlier in today's session about breaking down the barriers of gender equality, but equally, there's obviously barriers there when it comes to ethnic minorities within the tech industry. So I know we've discussed a few opportunities that lies with coding Black females, but do you see any unique challenges and any more opportunities to kind of close this gap?
It's interesting because when you asked earlier on about the changes that we've seen, so I've seen there be an increase in the amount of women that there are in the industry. I haven't necessarily visibly been able to see more Black people in the tech industry. I know that it's happening, but I think that there's still so far to go. So I think the stats at the moment are the tech industry is made up of about 1.9% are Black people, and then 0.7% is Black women. So there's a lot that we need to do to make sure that we're actually getting the right people in the industry. We're not going to build the right applications or systems if we don't have the right people building them, if you know what I mean. So I think that there's some element around providing opportunities and creating those opportunities, which is something that we do a lot of at Coding Black Females. But I think that what I've seen, which has been really positive over the last year, is a lot of organizations have started to create their own opportunities that are there to enable people from different ethnic backgrounds to get into the industry and to progress as well. So I think that that's what we need to continue doing. It's creating those opportunities, making sure that people can see what there is out there so they're getting into the right roles. And again, that bit around that recognition. So if you see people who have the skills, advocate for them and ensure that they're progressing into the right opportunities as well. We're obviously we're progressing, but I think we've still got a way to go there.
And what do you think, I mean, addressing the whole panel here, is what do you think we can do as individuals, but also our companies can do to help them, like this gap, come together and bridge the gap between ethnic minorities?
I think similar to what we've been discussing for all of the other topics in terms of, getting the opportunities to a wider pool of people, whether that is neurodiverse, whether it's different ethnicities. I think, we have a number of different strategies in Enterprise Ireland as well. But as I said, I think it needs to be embedded deeply in the company culture, rather than just sort of a box tick exercise that you fill this in to tick a box.
Yeah, I'll pass over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo what everybody said, because if we really want diversity, that means proper intersectionality to solving those challenges and problems with really creative and innovative solutions. We can't do it with, a homogeneous type of diversity. It needs to be proper diversity. So, if we think about, back to the pipeline issue, I do really think that we've got an opportunity to demystify what working in tech means, because when we're late on, we're already starting with a small pipeline. So we need to build the pipeline much earlier on, and engage parents and carers much earlier on, and influencers who are going to be able to shape the future subject and career choices of people from diverse backgrounds, and making it clear what the roots are, like what you can earn working in tech, what the benefits are of working in tech, and as we've all talked about, showcasing a real diverse range of role models using technology platforms to help diversity in tech. And, you know, Charlene leads one of them. There are so many excellent networks and communities that are supporting and championing diversity in tech. And organizations have really now started to, much more than ever, understand what the benefits are of a truly diverse culture and a truly diverse workforce. So I think it's our collective responsibility to really truly diversify working in tech. And, you know, totally agree, because it is the most exciting industry in the world. We just need more people from all range of backgrounds to help create those solutions of the future.
Absolutely, completely agree with you guys on that. I think it is a huge thing where we're not seeing enough being, I don't see anything enough being done in primary schools, and knowing that there's young children around me that don't know the impact that technology will have on future generations, I think is a huge point that we've raised on today's panel. I want to ask you all a bit more of a more insightful question, which is, what is one achievement that you have had where you feel like, I've really got the confidence now to kind of break through some of these barriers and really have either proven yourself on a project, or, you know, made yourself really proud about something that you've done? And if I could start with Sarah on that, because I know you haven't come much from a technology background yourself, and obviously spiraled into it. What was your kind of breakthrough moment?
I mean, something more recently that I've been quite proud of is I actually was nominated as the global lead for cybersecurity for Enterprise Ireland. So we have about 35 offices globally, a couple of thousand people working for Enterprise Ireland, and cyber is a sector I look after, and I was selected as the lead kind of face of cybersecurity for Enterprise Ireland. So being a woman and being, you know, younger than the average age of people in my team, I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, what an amazing achievement. Yeah, all round of applause for that one. I think that was brilliant. Yeah. If I pass over to Charlene now, what are your kind of achievements that you've either had this year or throughout your career so far?
It's really interesting because I love tech and I love coding and I love building things. And up until maybe a couple of years ago, it would have been around building something that I'd never built before. And I think that now it's very much about the coding Black females community. I've always been quite confident in the fact that I can build anything I need to build and learn anything I need to learn. And now knowing that I'm enabling other people to get into the industry and seeing that happen on such a large scale, that's so exciting. It makes me excited pretty much every moment of every day. So I think that's a huge achievement for me. It's knowing that, yeah, I've got technical skills, that's great, but I'm enabling other people to get those skills and to have a voice and to really showcase all the amazing things that they're doing in the industry. And I think for me, that's a huge achievement. I love that.
Yeah, again, another round of applause for Charlene. I think that's brilliant, Charlene, and you are inspiring so many young women. So thank you so much for giving the opportunity to those people. And Shilpa, if I can now pass on to yourself.
Amazing achievements by everyone. And I think for me, aside from my two teenage daughters, who I'm very proud of, and the work that I've delivered for my clients and for my organization, I think one of the achievements I'm most proud of, like Charlene, is now leading our multi-award winning Women in Tech network at Deloitte. So over 15 years, we've really grown to be able to inspire, motivate, guide and support our members in whatever their personal and professional journeys have been. And it's, you know, being a real joy to be able to have led that for that time, and also mentor both individually and collectively hundreds of people. So that is something that really still drives me every single day.
Absolutely, Shilpa. And I have to say, you're such an inspiration. We had you on the Women in Tech panel last year, and it really did inspire some more young women to come forward. So that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. Yeah, brilliant stuff. So the last question I'd like to pose for today's panel is, what are your hopes for future women in technology? So if I could start with Shilpa on this one.
So I would love for the positives and the lessons that we've all gone through from the global pandemic to really be retained and applied going forward, so that we can create better diversity in tech. We've really seen like people and organizations truly transform literally overnight. So it does fill me with hope that we can see more than the incremental change that we've seen to date, to bring real diversity in tech, and more quickly than we have done in the past. So by using the new tech platforms to create new work models, to an increased understanding of the well-being and inclusion that is needed in the tech industry that has come about through the pandemic, I think we can create those jobs of the future and really encourage more diversity into the sector. So for me, by the time my daughters are working, I would love to see us achieving close to parity for women in tech and tech leaders, and adding to the great role models that are already out there. I'd love to see so many more. And right now, as I said, only 1/3 of the girls have access to those future role models. So we really need, if everyone who's listening today, or who everyone they know worked in tech, could spend even 1 hour mentoring someone from the next generation, from a diverse background, to study or get into tech, then we could really start to change the balance. And maybe one day we won't even need women in tech networks, because they'll just be people networks, and we'll have proper equality, diversity, and inclusivity in all aspects of how we live and work.
Yeah, I completely mirror what you say there, Shilpa. I think that's a really good point to kind of close this panel off with. Charlene, if I could come to you for your input.
Yeah, that was lovely, Shilpa. I want to say all of those things as well.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, it's really about equal access and people having positive experiences. So I still hear people say, that somebody thought they were the tea lady or something like that, and that I don't want to hear that anymore. I want to hear that somebody went to an event and they had a great time and they learned a bunch of amazing skills, and people knew that they were, somebody important in technology. And I think that's what it is. It's making sure that people have equal access and they're able to enjoy the industry, in an equal way, in an inclusive way, because it is fantastic and it is really enjoyable. So I want people to be able to enjoy it properly.
Yeah, with such a serious subject, it is such a fun industry to work in. So Sarah, if I could pass over to you now for your final closing comments.
I mean, yeah, I think there's not much else to say. They're both pretty good closing statements. I think, yeah, just echoing what Shilpa and Charlene said, the numbers are great in terms of stats, that it's increasing year on year, and the number of women involved in tech. But as Shilpa said, it'd be great to see that kind of 50-50 split in terms of women in senior leadership positions, women in looking for investment as well. I would really love to see more women asking for more money. As I said, we see a lot of female kind of founders, and they're, I want to tell them, ask for that extra 100,000, ask for that extra million, and have that confidence in yourself. And yeah, just as the girl said, it's a great industry, and it's a really exciting place to work, and I hope more women do get involved in tech.
Absolutely. We're all inspirational women. Thank you so much for joining our panel today. And I would just like to close off and now pass myself back into the studio. Thank you.